John had always been fascinated by drones. Ever since he first saw one flying over his neighborhood park, moving smoothly in the sky and capturing everything below from a perfect bird's-eye view, he knew he wanted one of his own. Over the years, he had saved money, read countless manuals, watched hundreds of tutorial videos, and practiced tirelessly in open fields near his home. Finally, he had bought a top-of-the-line drone, a model that could fly high, record crystal-clear footage, and respond instantly to his commands. Today, he was planning something special, a flight that would take him over one of the largest dams in the area, a place that was both beautiful and slightly mysterious, surrounded by forests and hills, with water that stretched far and wide, reflecting the bright morning sunlight. The morning was calm and quiet. A soft breeze rustled the leaves of nearby trees, and the occasional chirping of birds created a peaceful soundtrack for John's adventure. He parked his car at the edge of the dam's viewing area, taking a moment to look at the vast landscape before him. The dam was massive, an engineering marvel that had stood for decades, holding back millions of liters of water. From this distance, it looked almost like a wall carved into the earth, strong and unyielding, yet surrounded by nature that softened its edges. The air smelled fresh and cool, with a faint scent of water and wet stones. John could feel the excitement building inside him. Today wasn't just about flying a drone, it was about exploring, capturing the unseen, and testing his skills in a real, slightly challenging environment. John carefully unpacked his drone, setting it on the flat ground near the car. He checked every component, the propellers, the battery, the camera lens, making sure everything was in perfect condition. This was important because he wanted the flight to go smoothly and safely. He double-checked the remote controller, making sure the connection to the drone was strong and stable. His heart beat a little faster with anticipation, but he stayed focused. Flying a drone over such a vast area required patience, attention, and precision. One small mistake could send the drone crashing into the water or getting lost in the trees. He reminded himself that today, every decision would matter. As he prepared, John noticed the details around him, the dam's walls rising sharply, the small paths winding along the water, and the occasional fisherman trying his luck near the edges. A few hikers were passing by, admiring the view, some stopping to take pictures on their phones. Everything looked peaceful, almost too peaceful, as if nature itself was waiting to watch John's flight unfold. He felt a thrill at the thought of being the first to capture the area from above in a way no one else had. His imagination ran wild with possibilities, sweeping shots of the water, the dam stretching like a giant line across the landscape, the sun sparkling on the surface, and the surrounding forests forming a green frame. The potential for stunning footage made his hands slightly shake with excitement, and he smiled at the thought. John had flown drones in parks and small fields before, but this was different. This was bigger, more complex, and slightly intimidating. The size of the dam, the unpredictable winds near the water, and the presence of restricted areas all added to the challenge. He knew he had to be cautious, but he also felt ready. He had practiced countless hours, learned from his mistakes, and built confidence in controlling the drone under different conditions. Now, all that preparation was about to be put to the test. He imagined the drone gliding over the water, capturing angles that no camera on the ground could ever get, moving gracefully as if it were a bird soaring freely. The thought of controlling it and capturing those images filled him with joy. After a few deep breaths, John finally picked up the remote controller. He could feel the cool morning breeze on his face and the warmth of the sun touching his skin. Everything seemed perfect for the flight. He placed the drone carefully on the ground, turned it on, and watched as its lights blinked to life. The drone was ready, waiting for his commands. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was the moment he had been waiting for, a chance to explore, create, and experience something extraordinary. The calm of the morning, the beauty of the dam, and the thrill of flight all came together in that one moment, making John feel alive and ready for the adventure that was about to begin. John's fingers hovered over the controller, a mixture of excitement and concentration coursing through him. Today was the day he would finally see the dam from a perspective few had ever experienced. The drone sat before him, sleek and silent, its polished body reflecting the early morning sun, its camera lens pointed forward, almost as if it were eager to explore along with him. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool breeze brush against his face, and pressed the power button. The drone's lights blinked rhythmically, a signal that it was alive and ready. John could hear the soft whirring of its motors beginning to hum in the quiet morning air, a sound that filled him with both excitement and nervous anticipation. Slowly, carefully, he lifted the throttle, and the drone rose a few inches above the ground. Hovering steadily as if testing the air itself, the balance was perfect, the tiny machine floating effortlessly, waiting for him to take it higher. John's heart raced as he guided it upward, higher and higher, until the dam, the water, and the surrounding forests began to shrink below him. The perspective was breathtaking, the world from above looking entirely different than from the ground. The vast expanse of the dam stretched across the horizon, the sunlight glittering on the water like thousands of tiny diamonds. The dense green of the surrounding trees contrasted sharply with the gray concrete walls, creating a scene that felt almost surreal. As the drone moved smoothly forward, the camera capturing every detail, John felt a thrill unlike anything he had experienced before. A simple machine in his hands had given him the power to see the world in a completely new way. He carefully adjusted the angle of the camera, capturing sweeping shots of the dam's edges and the swirling water below. Each movement of the drone was precise, responding instantly to his commands. Every second felt like a dance, John controlling the drone responding perfectly, and the world below transforming into a moving canvas of colors and shapes. He could see tiny ripples on the water, birds flying low near the surface, and the intricate cracks and patterns on the dam walls. The footage looked like it belonged in a professional documentary, and he smiled, proud of the skill and preparation that had brought him to this moment. As the drone glided further, a soft wind picked up near the water, causing the machine to sway slightly. John's hands tightened on the controller, correcting its path with careful, subtle movements. He knew that a single mistake could ruin the flight, or worse, send the drone crashing into the water, but rather than fear, the challenge exhilarated him. Every adjustment, every tilt, and every command heightened his sense of connection with the machine. It was as if the drone were an extension of his own senses, feeling the air currents, responding to his intentions, and moving gracefully through the sky. For a moment, John allowed himself to just observe, letting the drone hover in place as he took in the scene. The dam stretched endlessly, the water calm in some areas and rushing in others. The sunlight danced across the surface, creating patterns that seemed to change with every second. In the distance, he could see hills rising, their slopes covered in thick forests. The air felt fresh, almost electric, and John felt completely immersed in the moment, as if he had entered a secret world, hidden from everyone else. Then, with renewed focus, he guided the drone forward again, skimming above the water, turning slowly to capture the perfect angle of the dam. Every shot was more mesmerizing than the last. The hum of the drone, the gentle wind, and the vast landscape below created a rhythm that felt almost meditative. He was no longer just controlling a machine. He was exploring, storytelling, and creating art from above. The thrill of piloting the drone over such an enormous structure, seeing the power and scale of human engineering up close, made his pulse race. Each moment was a mix of awe, wonder, and the quiet satisfaction of mastering a challenge. John couldn't help but grin as he guided the drone farther along the dam, knowing that these shots would be unlike anything he had ever captured. His hands moved instinctively, eyes focused on the screen, heart synced with the machine, and yet, beneath the excitement, a small voice of caution whispered in his mind, reminding him that he was venturing into areas that might be off-limits, areas that required careful judgment. The thrill of flight and the beauty of the scenery were irresistible. But John knew that he had to balance adventure with responsibility. The next few minutes would test not only his skill but also his sense of judgment. As John guided the drone along the vast expanse of the dam, he felt an exhilarating sense of freedom, the machine moving as though it had a mind of its own, yet responding perfectly to his commands. Every twist, turn, and gentle climb revealed angles he had never imagined. The concrete walls of the dam stretched far below, cutting a sharp line between the deep blue water and the green forest surrounding it. The morning sun reflected off the water, casting patterns of light that danced across the drone's camera lens, making the scenery look almost magical. He was so absorbed in the flight that he almost missed it, a section of the dam that didn't look like the rest, a fenced-off area with warning signs that he hadn't noticed from the ground. The drone hovered near it, and John's heart skipped a beat as he realized he was close to a restricted zone. The fence had barbed wire along the top, and a small sign read, "No unauthorized access. Security patrols active." His pulse quickened. A mix of curiosity and anxiety flooding his senses. It was the kind of discovery that made drone flights thrilling, yet dangerous. John leaned closer to the controller, adjusting the camera to get a better view. His fingers moved carefully, almost as if he were tiptoeing in the air. The drone floated above the off-limits area, revealing machinery, small buildings, and security equipment that were hidden from view on the ground. He could see sensors along the dam, cameras mounted on poles, and even a faint shimmer that hinted at a water monitoring system. It was fascinating, like uncovering a hidden layer of the world that few people ever saw. The thrill of discovery battled with a rising sense of caution. John's mind raced, weighing the risk of staying too long over the restricted section versus the excitement of capturing unique footage. He knew drones were allowed in open spaces, but this was different. This part of the dam wasn't meant for casual exploration, and he could easily attract unwanted attention if he lingered. Yet, at that moment, the temptation was irresistible. The drone had already taken him this far, and the view was unlike anything he had ever imagined. As he hovered, John noticed movement below, a security vehicle slowly approaching along the dam's edge, its tires crunching against the gravel. He froze for a moment, his fingers tightening on the controller. The realization hit him that he might have gone too far. The area wasn't just restricted, it was actively monitored. The sound of the wind rushing past his ears seemed louder, and the peaceful morning now felt charged with tension. Every instinct told him to retreat, yet curiosity kept him rooted to the moment. He decided to move the drone slightly to the side, keeping it just above the fence line, trying to remain unnoticed. The camera caught intricate details of the dam's infrastructure, pipes running along the walls, a small turbine room, and safety barriers built to protect the water supply. John marveled at the complexity, feeling like he had stumbled upon a hidden world few would ever see. His pulse quickened with the excitement of exploration, yet the subtle sense of danger lingered, a silent warning hovering in the air along with the drone. Then, something unexpected happened. The drone's camera picked up a reflection, a glint that seemed out of place. John adjusted the angle, zooming in carefully, and his eyes widened. He realized there was a small maintenance hatch partially open, a section of the dam that was supposed to be sealed. The discovery was thrilling and alarming at the same time. It made him aware that even a few minutes of curiosity could have consequences far beyond what he had imagined. The combination of wonder and caution made every second feel heavier, the drone floating in midair like a messenger revealing secrets it was never meant to show. John knew he had crossed into something more than just a scenic flight. This was real, tangible, and potentially risky. The excitement that had carried him from the car to the sky was now balanced by the weight of responsibility. He realized that the next decision he made would define the outcome of this adventure, and the moment felt like a delicate turning point between thrill and danger, between exploration and accountability. The unexpected discovery had turned a simple drone flight into a tense, unforgettable experience, one that John would remember for a lifetime. John's heartbeat began to thump loudly in his chest, each beat echoing the silent hum of the drone as it hovered above the dam. The calm morning that had welcomed him just moments ago now felt charged with electricity, every rustle of leaves and distant bird calls seeming louder, sharper, more intense. He knew he had gone further than he had intended, yet the temptation to stay just a little longer, to capture more of the forbidden view, tugged at him relentlessly. The drone floated over the restricted section, the camera capturing details with crystal clarity. Every pipe, bolt, and safety railing stood out in sharp focus, revealing the complexity of human engineering juxtaposed against the raw beauty of nature surrounding the dam. John's fingers danced over the controls, guiding the drone with precision, yet beneath his calm exterior, a knot of anxiety twisted tighter with every second. He could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, reminding him that even the smallest mistake could have consequences. Suddenly, a faint sound broke the morning's quiet, a mechanical hum, almost imperceptible at first, growing steadily louder. John's stomach tightened as he realized it was coming from below. A security vehicle had appeared on one of the access roads, its tires crunching against gravel and sending small clouds of dust into the air. The officer inside scanned the area with sharp eyes, and John felt an instant jolt of panic. His pulse quickened, and for a moment, he hesitated, unsure whether to retreat immediately or stay and capture the scene. The drone wobbled slightly as a gust of wind swept across the dam, and John quickly corrected its path, his fingers moving instinctively. His mind raced with scenarios, imagining what would happen if the officer noticed the drone hovering too close. What if they thought he was trespassing or spying on the restricted section? The thought sent a cold shiver down his spine, yet part of him resisted letting go. The footage he was capturing was unlike anything he had ever seen, and the drive to document it made him hesitate at the edge of caution. John adjusted the drone's height, lifting it slightly higher to avoid being spotted directly. He tried to stay calm, telling himself that a few more moments wouldn't hurt. The camera focused on a small hatch partially open, and John realized that his drone was capturing what no one else could. A sense of awe mixed with dread flooded through him, the thrill of discovery battling against the growing tension in the air. Each second felt stretched, elongated by the awareness that he was venturing into something sensitive, something that demanded respect and caution. As he hovered, he noticed shadows moving near the edge of the restricted area, figures that might have been maintenance workers or security personnel glancing in the direction of the drone. John felt a sudden jolt of fear, his fingers tightened on the controller, and he instinctively pulled the drone back slightly, yet he couldn't bring himself to end the flight just yet. The tension was a tangible thing, pressing down on him like the walls of the dam itself, reminding him that beauty and danger often exist side by side. The wind picked up again, stronger this time, rustling the leaves and causing the drone to sway gently. John corrected its position, heart pounding, aware that a single misstep could send it spiraling into the water below. He felt as if the dam itself was watching, a silent sentinel observing his every move. Each adjustment, each careful maneuver felt critical, balancing excitement, responsibility, and fear. The morning that had started with calm and anticipation had transformed into a delicate dance of tension and control, every second carrying the weight of potential consequences. Finally, John realized that he could not linger any longer, yet the temptation to push forward one last time lingered in his mind. The scene below was too fascinating, too compelling, yet instinctively, he knew the right choice was to retreat, to make the next move wisely. The tension was at its peak, a mix of adrenaline, fear, and exhilaration, and in that moment, John understood that this flight was no longer just about aerial photography. It was about judgment, responsibility, and the delicate line between adventure and danger. John's fingers hovered over the controller, his knuckles white as he gripped it tightly. The drone hovered silently above the restricted section, capturing every detail below, yet the thrill of discovery had begun to give way to something heavier, a sense of responsibility, a weight pressing on his chest that made it impossible to ignore. The morning air, once crisp and inviting, now felt thick with tension, as if the entire dam was holding its breath, waiting to see what he would do next. The security vehicle in the distance had slowed, its occupants scanning the area with careful, deliberate movements. John's stomach churned with anxiety. He knew that even a single wrong move could have consequences far beyond what he had imagined. Trespassing, even unintentionally, could lead to fines, confiscation of equipment, or worse, suspicion of malicious intent. Yet the footage he was capturing was extraordinary, a view of the dam no one else had ever seen. The temptation to linger, to get just one more shot, tugged at him, battling with the voice in his mind that urged caution. John exhaled slowly, trying to calm the rapid beat of his heart. His eyes darted between the controller, the drone's live feed, and the distant patrol vehicle. Each second felt like a test, a delicate balance between thrill and responsibility. He remembered the countless hours of practice, the safety checks he had performed, and the lessons he had learned about flying drones in sensitive areas. Those experiences gave him confidence, but they also reminded him that skill alone was not enough. Judgment mattered just as much. He leaned back slightly, considering his options. The first choice was to continue, to explore further into the restricted area, capturing angles and details that no one else had seen. The second choice was to retreat immediately, land the drone safely, and accept that curiosity must be tempered with caution. John felt the pull of both paths, each demanding his attention. Each option had risks and rewards, and the wrong decision could turn this exhilarating flight into a disaster. The drone hovered above a small maintenance hatch, partially open, revealing pipes and machinery that should never have been exposed to casual eyes. John felt a surge of awe at the discovery, but it was immediately followed by a sharp pang of fear. He realized that the more he lingered, the greater the chance of attracting attention from the security patrol. The patrol could easily see the drone if it stayed in place too long, and John didn't want to explain himself under suspicion or risk legal trouble. He knew that responsibility wasn't about capturing perfect footage, it was about making the right choice when it mattered most. John's fingers tightened on the throttle as he made his decision. Slowly, deliberately, he began guiding the drone back along the path it had taken, moving higher to stay out of the line of sight of the patrol. The machine responded instantly, rising gracefully, its camera still capturing the sweeping view of the dam, yet now every movement was careful, controlled, precise. He could feel the adrenaline easing slightly as he committed to retreat, replaced by a calm focus, the kind that comes only after a major decision has been made. As the drone moved farther away from the restricted section, John allowed himself a brief moment to breathe. The tension that had gripped him for minutes began to loosen, replaced by a mix of relief and lingering excitement. He had made the right call, but he also knew that this moment would remain vivid in his memory, a lesson in the balance between adventure and responsibility, thrill and caution. The flight had begun as a simple experiment in aerial photography, but it had transformed into something far more meaningful, a test of judgment, ethics, and self-control. John guided the drone toward a safer area, focusing on steady movements and smooth angles. The camera still captured breathtaking scenery, the dam stretching wide beneath him, the sparkling water reflecting sunlight, and the surrounding forests forming a perfect frame. But now, the sense of danger had shifted into an exhilarating story of triumph over uncertainty. Every click of the controller, every tilt and turn, reinforced the lesson he had learned. Sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is not to push further, but to pull back with wisdom. As he prepared to land the drone safely on the flat ground near his car, John felt a mix of pride and humility, pride for having captured extraordinary footage, and humility for understanding that curiosity and skill must always be guided by responsibility. The critical decision had been made, and the consequences were avoided, but the experience had changed him, leaving him more aware of the delicate balance between adventure and caution, freedom and accountability, and the real thrill of mastery that comes from knowing when to act. John's hands trembled slightly as he set the drone down on the flat ground near his car, the morning sun glinting off the polished surface of the machine. For a moment, he just stared at it, the hum of its motors fading into silence. The flight had been everything he imagined, exhilarating, breathtaking, and now, unexpectedly, a little dangerous. He felt a mix of relief and apprehension, knowing that what he had just done could have consequences if not handled carefully. He took a deep breath, the crisp air filling his lungs, and reached for his phone. His mind raced as he considered the options. The first instinct, the one that often whispers, "Ignore it, no one will notice," tugged at him, but John pushed it aside. His conscience would not allow him to walk away and hope for the best. The right choice, the responsible choice, was clear. He needed to inform the authorities, even if it meant embarrassment, questioning, or minor consequences. Honesty was his only path, and it weighed heavily on him as he dialed the number. The phone rang once, twice, and then a calm voice answered. "Hello, this is the local police station, how can I help you?" John swallowed hard, his throat dry, and spoke steadily. "Hi, my name is John. I was flying a drone over the dam this morning, and I realize now that I might have entered a restricted area. I wanted to report it immediately before it caused any problems." The words felt strange as they left his mouth, yet there was a sense of relief in admitting the truth. The honesty gave him courage, and he continued, describing the exact location, the time of the flight, and the fact that he had landed the drone safely. As he spoke, he could hear the officer typing notes, asking clarifying questions about the flight path, the drone's height, and whether he had taken any photographs or videos. John answered calmly, keeping his explanations precise. factual, and transparent. Every word reinforced the seriousness with which he treated the situation, and he could sense that the officer appreciated his proactive approach. The tension that had gripped him during the flight began to ease slightly, replaced by a cautious optimism. While on the phone, John glanced at the drone sitting quietly on the ground, its camera lens reflecting the sky. It seemed almost like a silent witness to the morning's events, and he felt a twinge of guilt for having pushed it into areas he shouldn't have. Yet, in that same moment, he recognized that this experience would forever teach him about responsibility, ethics, and accountability. The call was not just a precaution. It was a commitment to doing the right thing, no matter how uncomfortable. The officer asked him to remain in the area until someone arrived to speak with him, which John agreed to without hesitation. He moved to a nearby spot, keeping the drone in view while waiting. Every second felt drawn out, a slow dance between anticipation and uncertainty. He watched the water shimmer in the sunlight and the forest sway gently in the breeze, trying to calm his racing thoughts. The morning that had begun as an exciting adventure now carried the quiet weight of consequence, and he felt every heartbeat in his chest. Soon, in the distance, he saw flashing lights approaching along the road, the unmistakable presence of law enforcement. John's stomach tightened again, but this time it was mixed with pride. He had done the right thing, and now the situation would be resolved responsibly. The officers arrived, stepping out of their vehicle with professional caution, and John greeted them calmly, explaining the entire flight and his intentions. His honesty and clarity seemed to impress them, and their questions were thorough but not accusatory. As the officers examined the area, noting the drone's path and checking the surroundings, John felt a sense of relief slowly washing over him. The tension that had gripped him since discovering the restricted section began to dissolve, replaced by the satisfaction of knowing he had handled a potentially serious situation correctly. The flight, the discovery, the tension. All of it had culminated in a moment of integrity and responsibility, leaving John with a deeper understanding of the balance between adventure and accountability. Finally, after answering all questions and providing the necessary information, the officers gave him a nod of acknowledgement, assuring him that no further action would be needed as long as he remained cautious in the future. John watched them drive away, feeling lighter, freer, and wiser. The morning's events had transformed from a simple drone flight into a life lesson, teaching him that true thrill comes not just from exploration, but from facing challenges responsibly and making the right decisions under pressure. John's eyes stayed fixed on the winding road leading up to the dam as the first flashes of red and blue lights appeared in the distance, their reflection shimmering across the calm water. A wave of tension surged through him, stronger than anything he had felt during the flight itself. The excitement of exploration had been replaced by uncertainty, anticipation, and the quiet fear of the unknown. Each moment seemed to stretch endlessly as the patrol vehicle drew closer, its engine low and steady, a reminder that the authorities were real, present, and observing. The vehicle slowed as it neared the edge of the dam, gravel crunching under its tires, and two officers stepped out, their posture alert but professional. John's stomach knotted as he instinctively straightened his back, trying to appear calm. The drone sat silently a few feet away, its camera lens glinting in the sunlight, a silent witness to the morning's tension. The officers approached, eyes scanning both the drone and the surrounding area, their presence a reminder of the boundaries John had just skirted. "Good morning, sir," one officer said, voice steady yet firm. "We received a call about a drone flight over the dam. Can you tell us what's going on?" John took a deep breath, forcing a calmness he didn't entirely feel. "Yes, officer," he replied, his voice steady. "I was flying a drone here earlier, and I realize I may have entered a restricted area. I wanted to report it immediately before it caused any problems." The words felt strange, almost awkward, but as they left his mouth, John felt a small sense of relief, as if confessing the truth had lifted a heavy weight from his chest. The officers nodded, taking note of his honesty, and asked a series of precise questions about the flight path, how long the drone had been in the restricted zone, and whether any footage had been captured. John answered each question truthfully, describing every maneuver, every pause, and even the moment he noticed the partially open hatch. His attention to detail seemed to impress the officers, who listened carefully, occasionally exchanging quiet comments with each other as they verified his account. As one officer examined the drone itself, checking the body, the propellers, and the camera, John felt a mix of anxiety and fascination. The drone, once a symbol of freedom and exploration, now seemed almost like a piece of evidence, its every detail scrutinized, yet John realized that the officers were professional and fair, not accusatory. Their presence, while intimidating at first, was now reassuring. A reminder that the system was designed to prevent accidents and protect both the public and sensitive infrastructure. While the officers spoke quietly among themselves, John had a moment to observe the scene from the ground, the dam stretching majestically behind the officers, the water calm and glittering, the trees swaying gently in the breeze. The tension in the air contrasted sharply with the beauty of the surroundings, a reminder that thrill and danger often coexist. He felt a renewed appreciation for the morning's flight, not just for the footage captured, but for the lessons learned about responsibility, awareness, and decision-making. Finally, one officer turned to him, a slight nod of acknowledgement in his expression. "We appreciate your honesty, sir. As long as you exercise caution in the future and follow all regulations, no further action will be required." John's shoulders relaxed, and a wave of relief washed over him. The tension that had gripped him since the first sign of the restricted zone began to dissipate, replaced by gratitude and a quiet sense of accomplishment. He had faced uncertainty, made the right decisions, and emerged unscathed. As the officers returned to their vehicle and drove away, the red and blue lights fading into the distance, John allowed himself a deep, unhurried breath. The experience had been intense, a mix of thrill, fear, and responsibility, but it had also been transformative, leaving him with a newfound respect for rules, ethics, and the consequences of his actions. The drone now sat quietly on the ground, a companion that had carried him through a journey far more complex than he had anticipated. Its hum replaced by silence, yet the memory of its flight, the lessons learned, and the pulse of adrenaline still lingered vividly. John looked out over the dam, the sunlight sparkling on the water, the gentle rustle of the trees, and the quiet majesty of the structure. Feeling a profound sense of clarity, he understood that adventure is not only about exploring the unknown, but also about making the right choices when faced with uncertainty. The arrival of law enforcement had transformed a thrilling morning into a story of integrity, awareness, and personal growth, a lesson that would remain with him far longer than any footage ever could. After the officers had left and the last echoes of the patrol vehicle faded into the distance, John stood silently at the edge of the dam, the early morning sun glinting off the water like shards of glass. A sense of calm replaced the tension that had gripped him for nearly an hour, yet his mind buzzed with everything that had just happened: the flight, the discovery, the tension, and the responsible call to the authorities played over in his thoughts like a vivid reel of memories. Each detail felt sharper now, each moment carrying lessons he could never forget. John crouched down to pick up the drone, running his fingers over the smooth surface, feeling the faint warmth from its motors. The machine that had been his companion in adventure now felt like a symbol, a reminder of both the freedom technology could provide and the responsibility that came with it. He realized that his excitement and curiosity, though natural, had nearly led him into serious trouble. And that awareness filled him with both humility and gratitude. The morning had given him something more valuable than stunning aerial footage. It had given him clarity about boundaries, ethics, and accountability. As he carefully placed the drone back into its case, John reflected on the critical moments of the flight: the instant he had discovered the restricted section, the hesitation as he hovered above it, the tension that built as the security patrol approached, and finally, the decision to retreat and call the authorities. Each of these moments had tested not only his skill but his judgment. His heart still raced slightly at the memory of hovering above the forbidden area, yet that adrenaline now mixed with pride, not fear. He had faced the consequences before they could even reach him, and in doing so, he had grown. John thought about the lessons this flight would teach others, too. The thrill of discovery and the urge to push limits are universal, whether it's flying a drone, exploring a new city, or trying something unfamiliar. But he realized that adventure without responsibility is reckless, and that curiosity must always be balanced with awareness. His choice to call the authorities, rather than hiding or hoping for the best, had been the defining moment of the morning, proving that integrity and quick thinking can prevent accidents and mistakes, even in moments of high excitement. Looking out over the dam, John felt a sense of gratitude for the experience. The vast structure, the shimmering water, the surrounding forests, they all reminded him of the beauty of the world and the importance of respecting it. He also appreciated the presence of the law enforcement officers, who had approached with professionalism and fairness, guiding him toward understanding the limits of exploration while leaving him free to learn from his own actions. It was a balance between thrill and guidance, freedom and structure, adventure and responsibility. John knew he would tell this story many times, not just to friends or fellow drone enthusiasts, but also to himself, as a reminder of the day he had navigated excitement, curiosity, and accountability all at once. The flight had started as a simple attempt to capture stunning footage, but it had become a lesson in mindfulness, courage, and respect for boundaries. He felt a quiet pride, knowing he had handled the situation correctly, yet also a humble acknowledgement that he had come dangerously close to crossing a line that, once respected, had taught him more than any photograph ever could. Finally, he carefully packed the drone into the back of his car and took one last look at the dam, the sunlight reflecting off the water, the forest swaying gently, and the concrete walls stretching endlessly. He felt a calm satisfaction, a sense that he had grown not only as a drone pilot but as a person. The morning's events had transformed from a simple adventure into a story of self-awareness, responsibility, and personal growth. Lessons about curiosity, risk, and integrity were now etched into his memory, ready to guide every flight, every decision, and every choice he would make in the future. As John drove away from the dam, the hum of the drone still fresh in his mind, he smiled softly, realizing that the true reward of the morning was not the footage, nor the thrill of flying, but the wisdom gained, the confidence built, and the knowledge that adventure, when paired with responsibility, could lead to experiences far richer than any photograph or video could ever capture.